Well, hello and welcome to the December edition of the Partner Playback webinar. Difficult to believe that this will be the final one for 2024. My name is Lee Houston, Head of Product here at Zen, although today I've got the role of playing host and compere and do my best to keep us on track and on schedule. We've got a packed agenda, so I'll spare you from any unnecessary preamble on my part, other than to say that we are live. So if you do have any questions, then please send them through. I'll do my best to get them answered, whether that be during the conversation or we have some time reserved specifically at the end for a Q&A. I've been joined by some friendly faces and familiar faces, no doubt, to you today. I've got Steve Warburton, Managing Director of our Partner Division, who'll be giving us an update on some of the recent developments that we've made. I've got Founder and CEO of Zen, Richard Tang, who will discuss our financial performance, given that we've just closed our year end. And Richard's also going to discuss the rapidly evolving altnet market and what that means for us, but more importantly, what that means for you as our partners. But first up, I'm going to hand over to Andy Birchall, Senior Partner Experience Manager, who's going to provide some insight into our recent NPS survey. So over to you, Andy.
Thanks, Lee. So I'm going to talk about Zen's recent NPS survey today. Before I do, I'd just like to thank all the partners, not only the ones who completed the recent survey, but all the surveys we've sent out in the past couple of years. So in terms of the score itself, we finished at plus 73, which is up from plus 59 previously. Now, as happy as we are with the score, the most pleasing aspect is the engagement, with over 100 partners choosing to complete the NPS survey this time. And of those partners, over 90% of them added comments that advise what they like about working with Zen, but equally as important, what they like to change with Zen. Now, there were two main themes this time out. One of them, and I believe Rich is going to touch on it, and there was an ask for altnets to be included in the partner portfolio. And the other change that they wanted from Zen is more improvements in terms of functionality in the portal, more self-serve. So since the last survey, we have actually brought in some changes into the portal, so partners can cancel their own orders in flight, they can amend their own appointments in the portal, and they can also amend their own customer references in there. Hot off the press, in the coming weeks we will be releasing more functionality. We will allow partners to have better notifications when an update's been added or when a status is changing in the portal. Finally, from me, our next NPS survey will be released in February next year. Any partners who haven't given us feedback before but would like to in future, if you email partnerexperiencesteam@zeninternet.co.uk, we'll be able to set that up for you. That's all from me, and I'll pass you back to the team in the studio. Thanks, Lee.
Thanks, Andy. Look, I'll reiterate Andy's point. Thank you for everybody who's taken the time to complete that survey. It really gives us some valuable insight and feedback and allows us to make the changes in terms of products and the services that we take to market. So thank you. Right, Steve, over to you.
Yeah, morning Lee, and morning everyone, and thanks for joining us. I really appreciate it. So it's been a few months since our last Playback webinar back in September. So I just want to cover off a few updates on some of the things that I talked about then, where we've got to. So first up, we talked back in September about offering some new flexible contract terms on our broadband services. So I'm pleased to say that went live about 6 weeks ago now. So we now offer 12, 24 and 36-month terms, giving you access to improved rentals and also zero connection fees on our 24 and 36-month terms. So if you've got any more questions or you're interested to find out more about those options, then please get in touch with your account manager and they can share more detail. So that's the first thing. I think secondly, last time again we talked about the continued developments to the ICP, and as we look ahead to the next few months, what we're planning to do is release some additional functionality. So firstly, giving you the ability to view the ONT port on any FTTP services. We're also going to bring to live the option to be able to see if FTTP is available across your services with a kind of simple flag when you're viewing the range of services. And then finally, we'll give you the option to take IPv6 addressing on any of your circuits, again, within the portal. So we're going to continue to make these releases in the coming months. And as always, if you've got any feedback or thoughts on things you'd like to see, then please do get in touch. And then finally, again, back in September, we talked about trying something different with our partner events going forward. So rather than a kind of one event a year, we're going to move to a more quarterly regional events. So I'm absolutely delighted to say we've got the first of those lined up in January. So on Thursday, the 16th of January, we'll be heading down to London to go to the Clays. clues in the title. So that's virtual clay pigeon shooting. And I know many of you enjoy a bit of friendly competition. So, looking forward to enjoying some friendly competition at the clays. And, if you'd like to come along, then, again, get in touch with your account manager and we can get that arranged for you. And look forward to seeing many of you there. So just a few short updates from me this morning. I'll hand back over to Lee for any questions or over to Richard.
Great. Thanks, Steve. And for those of you that don't know, I'm also looking forward to that event. Steve is an honorary member of the CPPS. That's the Clay Pigeon Preservation Society, based on his performance at previous shooting events. So there are some questions coming through live, and we don't avoid the difficult questions on these webinars. So, Steve, there is a question that's come through straight away.
Sure, go ahead.
And it's linked to the 12, 24, 36-month contracts and price increases on those products. So historically, we've said that if you're on a 30-day term, obviously we will pass through supplier increases to partners. The question is around justification of doing that, even though that they're still in contract. So maybe between us, we can answer that question if you want to go first.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I think firstly, obviously, for the last couple of years, we've seen OpenReach release price increases typically coming through around December time to Zen, and then we've obviously announced those increases in January time. So that'll be the plan again this year. We expect at some point this month, probably later this month, we'll be notified of the price increases that OpenReach will apply across our base. Equally, we'll have off-net increases coming through from BT Wholesale. So once we've had a chance to absorb those increases, we'll then look to announce in January some changes to our pricing across our broadband services. Obviously, not in a position to kind of disclose what that'll be today. We're yet to see those, but obviously as soon as we do, we'll share those with our partners.
Great. Thank you. And then I suppose just specifically to pick up on the point with regards to those increases on those longer term contracts, the justification there is obviously in a wholesale environment, we make much tighter margins. And the contract terms that we've now brought to market are responding to partner feedback, which is they want a lower cost to connect, and also a reduced rental. So those reduced rentals, whilst there will still be an increase, is that will be still less than what those on a 30-day term would be paying. So that's the kind of the thought process there.
Yeah, it's probably worth saying as well that the pricing increases from OpenReach are linked to CPI. Obviously, CPI has come down a lot since the high point. So whatever price increases do come through from OpenReach, we're expecting they'll be a lot lower than they have been.
Absolutely.
Yep. Great.
Great. So thank you for the questions. Reiterate, please send them through. But that I'm going to hand over to yourself, Richard, if that's okay, to provide your updates.
Great. Okay. First of all, big thanks for joining the webinar. Really appreciate you making the time. I guess to start off with a bit of history of Zen. So Zen is the oldest broadband provider that still exists in its original form. It all started in a pub in the summer of 1995. I asked my brother Dan if he thought the internet would take off, and he said yes. And my next question was, well, do you fancy setting up an ISP? And he said, well, I'll build a network for you, but then I'm off because I've no interest in running a business. And that's what we did in 1995. So it's over 29 years now since we opened our doors to business. And we've seen the industry grow up from what was a niche novelty back in the mid-90s. Broadband didn't exist. And it was dial-up. The total number of users worldwide of the internet was about 30 million. So it was hailed as something that was taken off, but still very niche. In 2000, ADSL broadband was invented, and we launched that 10 times faster than dial-up, and you could be on whilst also making a phone call, which was very novel. And in that decade, we saw the real boom of the internet from being a niche to by 2010, people were demanding it as a right, really, as a human right. And so there was massive growth in the 2000s. 2010, the ADSL technology was overtaken by fibre to the cabinet. And that was launched and became the dominant technology in 2010. And towards the end of the 2010 decade, full fibre started to be rolled out. And now we're in the 2020s. This is the decade of full fibre, and there's a huge amount of investment and activity in transforming the UK to be a full fibre nation. And with all that change, it generates a huge amount of opportunity in our partner channel and a huge amount of opportunity for Zen to serve into our partner channel. So I'm going to talk a bit about that later. But before I do, I do want to touch on our culture and values, something that's deeply important to me. And we are all about putting people and the environment first and money second. Don't get me wrong, money's critically important. We've got to make money, we've got to grow, we've got to make profit, we've got to work hard, we've got to invest wisely. But money is just a means to an end to achieve our purpose. And our purpose is all about doing the best we can for people and the best we can for the environment. And that's people in the widest sense. It's our employees, it's our customers, you guys, it's our suppliers, it's the local community. It's all people, really. We want to be part of a sustainable future for the world. We've got our three most fundamental long-term objectives in priority order: happy staff, happy customers, and happy suppliers. So happiness of people is what we're here to do, and we'll be doing that. We've been doing that for nearly 30 years, and we'll do it for a long time in the future. Now, I want to go back to the question about altnets that Lee talked about. So the decade of full fibre, 2020s. We've got about 100 different companies building full fibre in the UK. Openreach, the biggest one, they're building at a phenomenal rate. 4 million new premises passed per year, so 1 million a quarter, 1/3 per month. Absolutely bewildering amount of build. And then of those circa 99 other builders, there's probably about 20, low 20s, what I would call scale players, so players with over 100,000 premises passed. And this is a huge opportunity. It is the best free market competition that we've seen in our industry really since the start of the internet. Now, all the way back in the mid-90s, the regulator, Ofcom, I mean, it wasn't Ofcom back then, but the regulator wanted free market infrastructure competition, actually just for telephone lines back then. And it's had to wait 30 years, but now it really has got free market infrastructure competition. And that's great news for Zen, and it's great news for you and our partner channel, because it's going to give you choice, it's going to give you more competitive pricing. So at Zen, we've been discussing and debating this in recent months. How can we best benefit from this big change in the industry this decade? And what we've concluded is we want to be the UK's aggregator of choice for altnets. So in our channel, we want to give you access to the biggest full fibre footprint that you can get from any supplier. We've made a strategic decision to do that. We're busy recruiting a load of people. Actually, we're quite a way down to recruiting a load more, particularly software people, to develop the capability and functionality to deliver this to you. And we're already, as we speak, busy delivering the beginnings of that functionality. So in our partner channel, for years, all we've offered to you is Openreach circuits. So you've got a choice of one. Actually, we signed a deal with City Fibre. It's over 2 years ago now, but we've not made that available to our channel partners. We absolutely are going to do that. We're planning to do that. The target date for doing that is April next year. We also signed a deal with Truly a few months ago. So they have a full fibre footprint of around about 1/3 Again, we're going to make that full fibre footprint available in our channel partner, in our partner channel through the ICP. Again, target date for that is April. And our most recent altnet signing is with Freedom Fibre. Freedom Fibre, again, a network of about 250,000, something like that, including a chunk of B2B in there. Not got an exact date for that yet, but we have committed to make that, again, that footprint available to you in the ICP, and we're going to do that after we've delivered City Fibre and Truly. But we're not going to stop there. We are talking actively to pretty much every other altnet in the industry. And as I said at the beginning, our goal is to be the UK's full fibre aggregator of choice in the channel. So big strategic goal, and we're going to be delivering that at pace throughout 2025. So hopefully you find that exciting, and we're super excited about that. I just finish off with a financial update. As Lee mentioned, our financial year end was September. Our revenue grew by 9% to 120 million. We did 110 million last year. We are profitable and we are debt free. So in an industry that is often quite debt laden and not necessarily profitable, we're in a very strong financial situation. We've created our budget for the year. We're budgeting a growth to 130 million revenue this year, so another 9% growth. And we're also budgeting for profit growth, which I know already that we're going to achieve because we've had a great first couple of months of the year. And so, as I said earlier, financial performance, very important, just the fuel for our purpose, doing the right thing in the long term for people in the environment, and in particular for this call for our customers, our channel partners. So, hope you found that interesting. Thanks for listening. Back over to you, Lee. If you've got any questions about any of that stuff, put them in the chat, and Lee will quickly
do his best.
Get them asked.
Thank you, Richard. Great update. I share the enthusiasm, the excitement. I think it's a really interesting time in our industry. We think it's a really exciting time to be a Zen partner over the next 6 to 12 months, what we have planned. So the questions are coming in thick and fast. So and the screen is scrolling pretty quickly. So I'm going to do my best to work through these in some logical order. But there's a question here about a topic actually to you, Richard. I know you've had conversation with many of the altnet CEOs, and it's about consolidation. So given that the question is, given that there is an inevitable consolidation of the altnets, what does this mean for your partnering plans?
Yeah, so consolidation, great questions. There's going to be a big consolidation. There won't be 100 altnets by the time we reach the end of the decade. And I've done straw polls at Connected North and at the London Internet Exchange meeting of how many there will be. And the consensus, it varies, but I'll share my own view. I think by the time we get to 2030, there will be that 100 will consolidate down to probably 2 or 3 scale players and a smattering of rural niche players like Barn. And I mean, how that will come together, who knows? You've heard some of my interviews, City Fibre saying we expect to be the acquirer rather than the acquired. Actually, there's probably more CEOs of altnets that say we're expecting to be the acquirer rather than the acquired. But if you look at the smaller deals, so let's take the deal that we've done with Truly. So Truly will be unlikely to persist as an independent standalone entity right up to the end of the decade. I know they will grow, and they, will likely be acquired at some point into a bigger entity. So let's just say hypothetically that next year you get access to the Truly footprint, you get access to the City Fibre footprint. Now, from your perspective, actually, you don't really need to know which network the service is providing on. Of course, we'll let you know which network it's providing on because it's interesting for you to know. But the service specs will be the same. The pricing will be the same across these different altnets. So we will have one price for Openreach likely and a different lower price for altnets. Typically, the altnets are pitching themselves at roughly 20% discounted from Openreach. So that gives you an idea of where you can expect the pricing to be. So we're going to launch that next year. You'll be placing orders. Some might land on the City Fibre network. Some might land on the Truly network. And then let's say that in 2026, completely hypothetically, City Fibre acquire Truly. What does that mean? Well, first of all, when a altnet gets acquired, there's a big period before those networks get joined. So if you look at the City Fibre acquisition of Lit Fibre that happened in spring, so we've still not got access to that network, and that just represents the challenge of integrating not just the networks, but the systems, the APIs, all the processes as well. So it would if City Fibre acquired Truly in 2026, and I'm not basing that on any fact, that is just if that happened, then it'll probably be 2027 before the networks are joined. And then when they're joined, there'll be a point in time where City Fibre say to Zen, okay, we've integrated the networks, we've integrated the systems, and this is the day where you switch your APIs over from the Truly API to the City Fibre API. That will then switch over, and from your perspective, you won't see any difference. You'll have placed an order now, and that will just continue to run. You'll continue to place orders through the ICP, either through the portal or through the API in the ICP. And again, you'll continue to manage those services in exactly the same way. Now, there might be little things like, is the service journey identical in the two? I mean, there'll be little details like that. But on the whole, you won't notice any difference. Now, what you might say is, well, didn't you then maybe waste your time doing the Truly integration? Because actually, if you just waited a while, you could have saved all that work and got access to the network through City Fibre. And that is true if it was City Fibre and Truly, which actually we don't know yet. But our view is, no, let's integrate with actually as many altnets as we can do justice to, because then we get to market early. We can provide you with that Truly network in April next year. If we wait for Truly to be acquired by a bigger entity, be that City Fibre, Next Fibre, whoever, we could be waiting 2 or 3 years. And then, we're missing the boat of that transition to full fibre. So our view is, let's put the work in now. Let's give you access to the UK's biggest full fibre footprint. And then when the consolidation does happen, yes, that will reduce the number of interconnect and APIs for Zen, but from your point of view, you won't see any difference.
Brilliant. Thank you,
I hope
Richard.
that answers your question. Thanks for the question.
Great. There's a lot of questions coming through here, but maybe you could pick this one up, Steve. So that you've mentioned that altnets are going to be available in the ICP. Will the ICP be given a refresh given some of its current limitations?
Yeah, I think obviously the priority is to get the integration with the altnets. As we've been trying to do over the last sort of 12 months, we continue to iterate the ICP and continue to make improvements to it. Not planning on a big revamp of the ICP as it stands, but as always, we'd really value and welcome the feedback as to the features you'd like to see from us. So yeah, any suggestions for improvements, please send them through, and we can incorporate them into the change that we've got planned. But yeah, thanks for the question.
I just want to add to that. I guess the ICP works really well. I'm going to hold my hands up. We have underinvested in the ICP over the last couple of years, underinvested in it, and that is changing already. And you'll have seen over the recent months a continual stream of new features being launched. And look, that's new. We went for a long time without launching very much. So we have already recruited a load of additional software people. We've got about 20 more software people in the team. We're going to recruit another 20 people. And we have a big focus now, Zen, to be online first and have a whole new level of automation. So it is, again, a strategic decision that we made last year to really invest in our systems, and in terms of the ICP, to have a continual focus on developing new functionality. As I say, for the last couple of years, that's been lacking. That's now changed, and that will continue. That new level of focus will continue in the ICP.
Brilliant.
As Steve said, if you want to see something there that's not there, let us know, and we'll get it in the queue of things that we want to deliver in the ICP.
Absolutely. I'll second all of that. Thank you both. So the next question, I'm going to paraphrase because it's a big one, is given the heavy bias from altnets focusing on consumer premises, what does this mean from business availability? And it specifically says here, given that we're a B2B provider. So happy for anybody, and I also am happy to jump in too.
So based on the altnets we've already got contracts agreed with, and also a couple of the other ones that we're talking to. The footprint today will be 4 million additional B2C premises that we'll gain access to through the altnet partnerships, and 650,000 business premises. So that gives you a flavour for what that looks like. So a very significant increase in full fibre footprint, both B2C, but also importantly B2B, where obviously I know many of our partners are trading B2B. So yeah, it's a really significant increase in footprint.
Yeah, to give you an idea, all the broadband services in our partner channel, of which we've got about 60,000 services, 15% of those are B2C and 85% are B2B. And as a result of that, we have a big focus on talking to and doing deals with B2B altnets. So watch this space. I can't say anything yet because we've not signed contracts, but we have a big focus on providing B2B, recognising that actually the majority of our partner channel is B2B.
Brilliant. Next one, how will you maintain the same level of quality and service using so many different suppliers?
I'm happy to take that initially. Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, great question, actually. And what I'd definitely say is we spent 29 years building a very strong reputation for the quality of service, both in our network, in the people that you speak to in our provision and support teams, and obviously in our own relationship with our supply chain. So we are absolutely committed to ensuring that the service we provide via these new altnet partners is every bit as good as the service we provide through Openreach and through BT Wholesale. So yeah, we're very focused on that. The contracts we've been negotiating, we've been ensuring that we've got some tight terms in there to protect us from those service agreements. The early signs are, for the last 2 years we've been working with City Fibre, and we've had a good experience actually. The service has been very good. We've not had any big challenges with outages on the network or any problems with delivery or installation of services and repair. So we're confident. Having said that, if we do run into issues, we clearly will escalate those issues, and in a scenario where we weren't satisfied they were going to get dealt with, then we'd take action accordingly. I think a good example of that is what we did with Virgin a few years ago, where we had some big challenges there from an Ethernet delivery perspective, and we chose to pull Virgin out of our Ethernet tool on the basis that the service wasn't good enough. So we've got a track record of doing that if we need to, but we're confident the service will be great.
Yeah, and as Steve mentioned, the contracts that we've negotiated, specifically to the point about quality, we have been adamant that we are not going to commit to any minimum volumes. So with Truly, Freedom Fibre and City Fibre, we don't have any minimum volume commitments. And one of the key drivers for that is the quality question, so that we can go at the pace that we're satisfied with in terms of delivering the quality. And if the quality is not there, again, as Steve said, we'll slow it right down. We will, if necessary, we'll pull the plug altogether. I mean, I don't think it will come to that. And I think, but look, some of these altnets are, they're much younger companies than Openreach are. Well, everyone is. And so some of their processes will be less mature. I think we need to expect that. We probably will get the odd teething problem. I mean, we have had teething problems with City Fibre back at the beginning of the contract. Similarly, we've had teething problems with Openreach. We've had teething problems with BT Wholesale, all our suppliers. And the key is, let's work with them to get those addressed, because it's in everyone's interest to get them addressed, and the suppliers themselves want to get them addressed. So I think we will, realistically, we'll see some peculiarities, but the way that we're running these contracts, there will be limited impact, and we'll jump on them very quickly to get them fixed.
Brilliant. You mentioned Ethernet, Steve, so questions come through here. I'm happy to take on. So the question is around, given the investment in altnet, what does this mean for Ethernet and your plans that you've discussed previously. So absolutely, Ethernet is still a very important product in our portfolio, and we have no plans on changing our ambition to invest more in that product. So whilst we are planning to aggregate the altnets, we're still fully committed to the roadmap that we've created for our Ethernet products. So you'd have already seen the Ethernet quote tool has had a kind of a new skin, a facelift. That's just the start of a very long process, a large project for us to completely overhaul and revamp everything we're doing in terms of Ethernet. Anything you want to add?
No, I think that's a good summary, Lee. And I think just to add to Richard's point earlier, we were investing in additional developers specifically to do the altnet integration to allow us to continue to do a number of things across the business, such as the Ethernet development. So it's not a case of stopping everything we're doing and just doing the altnets. We're going to do them in tandem, and that's the reason for the big injection of additional headcount in software development and in technology.
Yeah, and it's important to realise that the word altnet doesn't mean consumer broadband, and depending on the altnet, they've got varying degrees of B2B focus. So you'll have seen the press release that Freedom Fibre made when they signed the partnership agreement with Zen, they led with B2B as the opportunity, and absolutely in that contract is Ethernet. So the altnets, not all of the altnets, but some of the altnets like Freedom Fibre, actually like City Fibre, they are just as keen to sell Ethernet and deliver that enhanced, that Ethernet level SLA as they are to sell broadband. And as I say, Freedom Fibre, actually, they're more enthusiastic, I would say, about the Ethernet opportunity and the B2B opportunity than they are about the B2C opportunity. And that's why they're led in the press release with that B2B opportunity. And again, going back to what we said earlier about talking to altnets with a view of knowing that the vast majority of our partner channel is B2B, we're talking to altnets who do have that focus on B2B, and all the B2B focused altnets have FTTP for business and Ethernet in their portfolio.
Brilliant. Yeah, I would just finish by saying that the lines between what is Ethernet and what's full fibre are blaring as these altnets create new products. So one of the opportunities we've got as to how we present them to you in the portal. And a question's come up here as to will you give us a choice if there is overbuild as to which supplier? Yeah, our plan is to present the products that are available to you in that area and give you the freedom to choose whether that be full fibre or Ethernet. So conscious of time, I'm going to finish with one final question. There are about 40 odd questions here, so we'll do our best to get back to you offline. But the last question we'll go to is a topic we've discussed many times, is the switch off of the PSTN network. And the feedback is that there's conflicting information regards December 25 and January 27. What's Zen's approach?
Great question, Lee. Great question. So yeah, that's fair comment. I think originally Openreach set a date of December 2025. They earlier this year extended that date to January 27. And the reason they did that extension was to give more time to be able to move vulnerable customers specifically over to the new network. So that was the justification for that date change. It wasn't intended to give more time to do other migrations on business lines, etc. So our view and our plan is to continue to work towards December 25 to get as many circuits moved as possible by that date. Post that date, the terms from Openreach on WLR and on copper broadband are going to change, and they've got more freedom to be able to change the service at a shorter notice period. So we definitely encourage all of our partners listening to try to get as many of their circuits moved by the December 25 date. I do know we've got some partners who do have some vulnerable customers in their base, and obviously we'll continue to support those lines up until the Jan 27 date. But yeah, try and get those shifted by December 25. If you need any support or any help, then again, reach out to your account manager, your PX manager, any of the team here. We can support you with moving circuits across.
We should probably say something about SOTAP and MPF.
Yeah. So Richard, yeah. So I'll go for it. So yeah, obviously, one of the questions is what do we do with customers who can't move to secure FTTP by that December 25 date or even the 27 date? So at the moment, we're talking to both Wholesale and Openreach about the ability to offer SOTAP or SOADSL, as it's also been known. So that will give us an alternative for those ADSL customers to be able to move technology. Currently, the commercials are a bit of a barrier for us, so we're currently talking to the suppliers about how we can get over that barrier. If we can get over that barrier, then we will look at alternative options there, be it, for example, MPF from PXC. But at the moment, our plan is SOTAT via OpenReach and wholesale.
Sure. Great. Thank you. I suppose that the other kind of component to add into that question around these customers that can, as it stands, only have ADSL available to them is the altnets. And we are being very strategic with the altnets that we choose to partner with to fill the gaps. Some of those gaps will pick up customers that only have ADSL available to them today. So that's just the final component. But look, we've reached time. So on behalf of Andy, who's still over there in Studio 2, Steve, Richard and myself, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank you all once again for joining us. And we will follow up with any of the questions that we've not managed to answer today. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.